Rita McGrath.
Rita McGrath is one of the world's premier experts on leading innovation and growth during times of uncertainty.
So the shorthand description for what I do is I'm a professor at Columbia Business School, have been for a long time. But in other parts of my life, I advise companies, I write books and articles, I do research, and I work with organizations to try to help them really simplify and demystify this whole area of strategy, innovation, and digital transformation. That's what's kept me pretty busy for the last few years.
Are we operationalizing for healthy diversity? And by this, I don't mean the politically correct kind. What I mean here is if you assume a hypothetical group of employees, and they each have between 1 and 10 qualities, but they're not all the same, right? And each of these qualities would help you to respond to some kind of environmental challenge. And if you look at this composition of this hypothetical company I've got here, you can see that only Chantel and Isaac have qualities that would allow them to respond to the challenges presented by condition 4 or condition 6. And I would argue that's not just a nice to have. Right? If you've got everybody in your decision-making team, everybody in your leadership team who's all the same, who's all homogenous, your chances of blind spots increase astronomically. So I think it's really worth thinking about that. It's a different way of thinking about who your talent pool is. A lot of companies, even today, they hire for cultural fit, which isn't bad. I'm not saying hire people who are going to destroy your culture. What I am saying is you want to hire people who have enough diversity to cover the range of challenges your company's likely to be presented with. You want people who are very curious. You want people who have been willing to make an investment in learning, even if it's not directly job related. So one of my entrepreneurial heroes is the guy who founded, his name's Jay Steinfeld, and he founded a company called Blinds.com, which later got acquired by Home Depot for $500 million. His total net investment in that company was $3,000. So real success story, great guy. And what he likes is he likes people who are independent thinkers, and he would call it a permissionless organization. And one of the interview questions he always asks is, what activities have you engaged in as a person that have improved your skills or given you new exposure to something or taught you something new, even if it's not work related? And then he really indexes in on those people that like doing that. Another thing Jay does, which I thought was brilliant, was, we always talk about failure, and I make a big distinction between basic failures, which are sloppiness, shortcuts, things. We don't want to encourage those. That's not a useful failure. But intelligent failures, we like. And what he would do in the marketing department, he had 2 giant glass test tubes put up next to each other. And the one was a test tube with little balls outside, and there were silver balls and I think red balls or something. And if you tried an experiment and it didn't work out, you took a red ball and you put it in one tube. And if it did work out, you put it in the other tube. And then you wrote up a little note about what you'd tried. But what he was trying to get across was, we expect you to experiment and we expect you to try stuff. And we know a lot of it's not going to work out, just as you heard at TOSS, right? Half of what we unleash into the world, we withdraw again. We're not wedded to it. We're constantly trying to improve. So I think you want to look for that spirit of curiosity, that willingness to try something new and not having fear. At Microsoft, they call this having a growth mindset. The Irish system forces you into these incredibly narrow specializations so early. And it's just not fit for purpose. And if I compare my kids to their cousins, many of who were raised in either the Irish or the UK system, it's like night and day. The ability to learn, to change, to morph, to do things that are different. When you're not trapped into this such a rigid system, there's no such thing as a below average child in any American school, and you get rewards for most improved. So I think we over-index a little bit on that. But I kind of see the opposite here. The kids are almost in this situation where they're constantly told they're not good enough. They're first and second and this kind of thing. And that is something you have within your control to change. And I would put that right at the top of my priority list if I was had a magic wand and was redesigning the system, because as you said, you don't know what those jobs are going to be. So I think there's a huge opportunity to really start with that education system and reshape it for an entrepreneurial economy rather than for the roles of the past. You've got youth and ambition on your side. The right structures are there, and that's huge. That's huge. Most of other comparable countries are aging and not have the potential to really lay the groundwork for the future. So I think this is a wonderful time to be having this conversation.